studying. We left off on how the character of God is the fruit of the Spirit, his attribute in us, talking about the word becoming flesh, and talking about how trials and tribulation cause us to have an endurance and causes the word to be tried in us. Think about it as if you were ever in school and the test was to see what your knowledge was of what you have retained, what was being taught. God comes along and he teaches you a concept in his word and in his word. So then he needs to know, and basically you need to know that no matter what, you're going to stand there and you're going to become steadfast and you're not going to move off of what God's principle says. And so when you understand that principle, then you know, because the hope is something that is an anchor. Hope is something, the ability to stand when everything else looks despairing and everything else looks like it in Lamentations. So I'm going to go there. Lamentation 2 verses 21. I believe. No, Lamentations 3. Talks about 3:21. It says, let's go back up to verse 19. It says, "O Lord, remember earnestly my afflictions and my misery, my wandering and my outcast state, and the woodworm continually remembrance and is bowed down. But this I recall, and therefore have I patience." And hope is the word hope in the Hebrew and in the Greek means to have a determined end. It says faith is the substance of things hoped for. Hope, hoping, it knows that beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is going to take place. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, Abraham walked all knowing that it would be his. Shadow of a doubt. He did not waver when God said son. Sarah did, but Abraham never did. So when Abraham became 100 years old, he became. So when you look at it and you're looking at things, when you're reading the Bible, you're reading the Bible and you're looking at it, but you are looking at this chapter that it was fast and it happened just like that, because it's retelling the story in the synopsis of how it happened in the timeline. If you read the Gospels, the 4 Gospels, in a 3.5-year period, what Christ did, how he walked on the earth, except for his birth up until, when he was 12. You have his birth, his birth, and then you have when he was at the temple, and then you don't hear about him for close to 17 years. Jesus showed back up. And then when all the miracles start to take place, that's a 3.5-year period that happened. In a hurry, that God moves at his own pace. So Jeremiah, bring to remembrance the hope, my determined end, my expectation is because the Lord's mercy and loving kindness and we are not consumed because of his tender compassion fails not. They are new every morning in grace and faithfulness. The Lord is my portion, our share, and says, my living being, my inner self, therefore wait expectantly for him. So when I every morning cause him to be the center of who you are and what you are believing God for that day. Number one, it's going to dispel hopelessness. Number two, you're going to recognize that God's mercy and compassion is with you. Number three, you're going to dwell in peace. Four, you're going to feel the love. Goodness. If you think about the goodness of God, the goodness of God is something that has been a part of your life, because without God's goodness, you wouldn't see anything that was good in the land of which you live in. Mercy, it's renewed every day. So every day when you feel like there is no hope for today, no. The word of God says his mercy is renewed, his goodness, his grace, his ability, my ability to look for a determined end. If we go back to Colossians, remember we were in Colossians chapter 2, about being rooted and grounded and built. One of the scriptures that I love about being established and rooted is in 15:58. It says, therefore, my beloved brethren, be firm, steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, always being superior, excellent, doing more than enough to service the Lord, knowing and being continually not in the Lord is not are to no purpose. So whatever God's desire, and we were talking about that the word of God becomes flesh. So whatever God has designed you to be, and his word is operating in you, it's going to produce a stead. You have a resolve where you're going to endure and you're not going to move and do what God says, knowing that when you continue, and that be without any, it's not going to be without any reward, because he states that he is he's faithful, and his reward is with him. His reward is going to come with him. It is one that is going to happen and be a part of him. And so when he comes, he's going to bring his reward. What's his reward? His reward is salvation. I mean, eternal being. It's being with him. His reward is flourishing what God has called you to be and what you are walking in. One important part that I believe I broke down to how the word of God becomes flesh. Right before I go to this next thing, I do want to pull up Proverbs, and it says, my son, attend to my words, consent and submit to my sayings. Let them do not depart from your sight, and keep them in the center of your heart, for they are life to those who find them. Your flesh. Keep and guard your heart with all diligence. Put away false and dishonest speech, willful